Hey everyone, thanks for visiting my channel, I really appreciate it. But I really didn't know how to start this video, so just imagine one of these three beautiful images you're about to see is the person you're hearing behind the camera. So my name is Devin, and I like to really read and think about manga and anime. But for a while now, I was feeling kind of super burnt out of anime culture in general. All of my favorite series I think were ending, and I didn't really get the excitement of just waking up every day and checking daily of what new series and new chapters were updating. I couldn't really get that excitement until like every Sunday when Weekly Shonen Jump would drop, and then I get really excited in a little burst, and then I'll like burst read like all of One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, and just everything that came out, but it would only last for like an hour. So I was just kind of getting in this cycle. I would just wait every week to get excited for an hour about manga and anime, and it just like I felt like I really couldn't get the nostalgia that I had for the past of like really loving or really craving my just a series that I loved me, and it made me kind of sad. But this all kind of changed in the last couple months as I really discovered how fun manhwa can be to read. So today I just want to talk about a specific manhwa and give it a little bit more recognition, because I think that just manhwa just has such a huge variety of series, and if you've only read manga before, you're going to be so impressed by just how much is out there. So in a little short summary, manhwa is pretty much just Korean manga. The main counterparts is that these series are read top down and are usually fully colored. They don't feature panels in the way that traditional Japanese manga do, so instead they kind of compensate for this by having really long chapters in order to fit all the information that they need in one chapter. This can be either really good if the series knows how to pace the information, combat, and world building correctly, or it can be kind of like bad if the pacing is bad in a series, because it can just be like a bunch of filler information in one chapter that you don't really care about, and it can kind of feel like soulless. Especially if you're like, you're waiting week to week for something interesting to happen, and it's just like information that you don't really care about at all. And it kind of really made me appreciate and go back and think about like amazing series like One Piece, just because they can fit so much information in one panel. It's just so impressive. But that's not what I want to talk about today. One Piece fanboying for another time. I want to talk about the really exciting stuff today. Just like the kind of series that makes it so you really can't wait to flip the page and just keep reading and keep seeing what's going to happen next. And that manhwa I want to talk about today is Leveling with the Gods. I usually read online, and these series for manhwa get updated daily, and it's really just revitalized my interest for manga and anime as a whole. It really just kind of made me really appreciate the entire series or entire franchise again, and I'm really glad I kind of found manhwa in general. So I'll only include important information from the first 3 chapters to not like spoil anything, because I'd really recommend giving the series a shot if you really like epic shonens with a little bit of a darker side. Now, it's not like super dark in like Attack on Titan or Berserk sense, in which every character you love and enjoy is gonna die eventually, but the main character in the world isn't extremely tolerant. If you get in the way of their progress or get in the way of their main goals, they will forcibly toss you to the side and make sure that you know that you're being a menace. So this series is really insane. I think there's never really a dull moment, and the pacing is kind of akin to Demon Slayer in a way. It's a lot of constant non-stop action, but it also supplements the action with little moments of backstory and world building as the main character progresses to climb through the tower, and that makes it so you really want to keep reading. But what is it really about? So Leveling with the Gods follows the popular player and tower genre, in which a mysterious tower system either saves or plagues the world. This encourages humanity, or even sometimes other species along humanity, to climb it in order to gain power that they can use to fight back, or even fight sometimes a forces even beyond the tower. There are a lot of these stories nowadays, but I think the main distinction between a good and bad one is how to utilize power systems and an actual plot with their tower scheme. A lot of series kind of like lose themselves when they start climbing the tower, because there's not really a real goal besides grinding strength, and sometimes some series even skim out on like the combat that they show you, so the character progression in like a strength sense seems really boring. I think to help this, Living with the Gods also includes the popular reincarnation subgenre. It's kind of like isekai, but usually a character has been betrayed or has huge regrets before death, and they're able to hold on to these memories and somehow reincarnate back into a previous step in time, and they either reincarnate into their body or another person's body. And with this, they're able to have either just cheat powers that they have alongside reincarnating, or sometimes they just use their memory. And just with their just having their intelligence and memory alone, they're able to kind of like cheat the world and get advantages that no one currently thought of first. So Living with the Gods kind of embraces the memory approach alone, as the main character goes back in time in order to really solidify his force to fight a force that's even beyond his tower. So in his world, the towers have destroyed every world you can think of as soon as they emerge. You get to see the fall and panic of the cruel side of kind of like humanity from the perspective of the Korean tower in the first couple of chapters. But they utilize the system well in order to create some really interesting characters. So it's not just like the earthly world that is destroyed. The tower also destroys fantasy and mythological worlds, and they also merge all of these worlds into one as everyone kind of moves into a new tower world. So you're able to see prominent figures from mythological like ideas from all throughout the world kind of carve their own origin stories and power systems as they climb the tower. And once they climb the tower, they become a thing called a high ranker, as they gain more fame and status. So some of these figures include like Kronos, Wukong, Odin, Zeus, and tons of other mythological figures, as they all kind of are integrated under this new world and have to like live and just like establish themselves under this new world. So at the same time, you get to see how these cultures kind of like assimilated into the tower. They kind of have to live in this like forced harmony, to where they have to obey the tower's rules. Once you start climbing, you can go to previous floors, but your powers are severely restricted just to make sure that you're not like constantly abusing lower level players. And they have to kind of live by these towers rules, even though they can exploit them and can kind of like game the tower themselves in order to get stronger or in order to get more fame and status over other like factions. So like I mentioned, there are many factions with these famous characters. There's an Asgardian guild, there's Olympus, there's like a divinity guild, which includes like angels and higher beings. There's dragons and other associations that kind of all live in this weird sort of harmony, as they all kind of either live or climb the tower. But really, who's the main character that climbs amongst legends like the Olympic gods? Well, he's just a normal Korean guy actually. His name is Kim Yu-wong, and he's kind of like a latecomer to the tower. He appears nearly 1,000 years after everyone else, yet he's able to climb and become kind of equivalent to these great mythological heroes, like say Hercules, in a quick time. You're able to see him gain his unique power system when he climbs the tower and has his own combat capabilities that kind of rivals the likes of other gods. So the whole system is very flexible, yet super exciting when you see how players can level up, especially when you compare them to like say mythological figures that you might already know a background of, and you can kind of see like how they've gained their powers through the tower system. It's really, really interesting. So as it keeps gaining respect amongst every faction for becoming a latecomer, yet becoming so powerful, more and more people start to like him and like start to like get along with him, even if like they're in different factions, because he's not really like, he's kind of neutral in his allegiance. He's not really like committed himself to joining a guild like Asgard or Olympus, and so that kind of makes it so that everyone can kind of appreciate him. But as he starts to ascend and as he starts to become more and more established as a high ranker, there starts to be more notices of an abnormal yet ominous force that's even beyond a tower that starts to bear its fangs. These things are called outer gods. They're like strange, deformed, mythical beings that are kind of akin to like depictions of biblical angels. They start to rain chaos down the tower. So even just like every citizen that lives in the tower, not even like the high rankers that continuously climb and climb, they're just killing and raining chaos upon everybody. And as the high rankers try to fight back, they just notice that they can't really even hold a candle to them. Their numbers keep dwindling lower and lower, and eventually Kronos, Odin, and Mimir decide that the only option left is to send one person back in time in order to gain true strength enough that it's able to beat these mythical beings and being able to like save the amount of lives that they couldn't do now in the current time period. So he goes back in time as a normal guy with no really advanced cheats or capabilities except for the knowledge that he has and the knowledge that his friends have given him when he goes back in time. So he isn't inherently overpowered like many other protagonists. He kind of uses his wits to gain power and uses his memory to play a game with the tower in order to accomplish these feats that no one really thought of initially when they were first climbing, in order to gain stronger and stronger. He was chosen for being kind of like pragmatic in a sense because he's not really affiliated with any major orgs, and he's not really like necessarily good or evil, but he just knows that death will come, and he knows what his main goal is, so he will try to do everything in his power to reach that goal. So before the time lapse, the other gods give him constant advice, and throughout the series you're kind of reminded of this. You're able to see Kim Yu-won combine their origin stories and how they got their powers into his own arsenal. So it creates this interesting power system where he has some elements of other characters or mythological figures' powers, but he also has his own unique fighting capabilities. And it's super interesting to read and super enticing as a reader because just his progression is amazing. But as he chooses to climb the tower, he gains kind of more and more friends and more enemies as he gets stronger and stronger, and it like record breaks these feats that no one else has even thought of before. So with this, he starts to both fight and acknowledge other gods and other divine beings as he climbs the tower, and it creates really amazing content, especially if you're kind of interested in mythology or just have like just more knowledge of how these characters actually are. And I think the series is really amazing. There's tons of like fresh diversity in the floor layout in the tower. There's a lot of cool mythological side characters and just a fantastic color and art variety when it comes to enemies and just battling. It's kind of akin to Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, and just like how every chapter feels so different yet so exciting to read. I'd highly recommend this for anyone that's interested in Korean manhwa or dark fantasy in general. I think like if I had to rate it between like just all of manga and all of manhwa I've ever read, I would give it like an easily S tier, easily S rank. It's like just so fun to read. I'll include a link in the description if you really want to start reading, and I'd highly recommend though to have an ad blocker, just because like these anime sites, well, the manga you're reading isn't inherently lewd or anything. It's just that they can give some information or some games that you don't really want to play. So unless you're degenerate and into that kind of stuff, but I'll just say just a little warning. So thanks for deciding to hear me speak my mind, and I'll see you guys all later. Feel free to comment any manga or manhwa recommendations that you like, and I'll see you.